Like, let's dumb this down a shade for everybody. But I don't have the link until I'm live, so it's like it's a domino effect here. So we are now. There, I can see us. We're live on your dumb this down a shade. See, that's the first words you hear. Dumb it down a shade for the Hebsy listeners. Here we go.
There you go. Hi, everybody. Oh, I'm just trying to get my framing here. Got my Bills cap on.
Yeah, I see that. I should go get my
shirt on. Well, just, man, I mean, I know how hard it hits some people, but when you've been a Buffalo Bills fan for as long as I have, it's like this, man, these are guys in the family, right? They're drafted and you're watching every play. All these guys. I know all these guys. Man, Hamlin was, we'll get to that. But that was, early in the week, that was like everything was about that. Everything stopped. It was like, you can't really talk about any other sports. Okay, the hockey's on. Okay, we could, that's acceptable. But to sort of get into any mundane discussion about sports or stats was kind of rude, almost like, hey, you should be talking about what happened the other night and the whole domino effect there. And we'll get into that into the podcast. But that was really, I've never seen anybody like almost die in front of me. I can't imagine what that's like.
No, it was horrific. And, we'll get to this, but timing wise, like the Bedard overtime goal in that quarterfinal happened 20 minutes after that incident. So it was, like the tempered, can I celebrate this? Like, it's sort of like,
yeah. And the other thing was the Bedard goal was like, it was a quarterfinal winner over Slovakia.
Yeah.
Right. But the build up to it, the fact that we, and again, Mike, this is every year. I can't start and stop every year. I can go, this is amazing. Next year, last year they won it. You know what I mean? It all kind of blends into one. They won 5 in a row at one point. And I don't know, 2007, 2013. It's all a blur because it happens every year. It's an annual 6-game or 7-game tournament, right? It's like way and down, and then nothing, and then by the way, there's the World Juniors start Boxing Day, and then later this week we'll be on to other things, right? Connor Bedard's going to go back to junior, and Shane Wright's going to go to the Seattle Kraken or back to the minor team, whatever the case. But for that 2-week period, that 10, 12 day, whatever it is.
Right.
Or once the quarterfinals begin, I guess, once you're out of the group stage and say, all right, what are the matchups? The single elimination.
Sure.
But you can't compare that to an NHL season or a junior season. It's like a little 2-week tournament that'll kind of.
It's kind of March Madness-y, except a more shallow pool, I suppose. 5.
Mike, come on. Like, I think I mentioned last week, like, okay, they beat Germany and Austria. Let me know when they beat a good team. Right. And that win against the United States was a real statement, especially down 2-0.
Right.
That was big. But I just like,
I know, I hear you.
But this is TSN's bread and butter. These guys, this makes them tremendous money. And
they get the eyeballs.
And they get huge numbers. Anything Canada's involved in on a world
5 million,
stage, of course. Yeah. Phenomenal. But also, it's like they all had a hard on for Connor Bedard. It's like they couldn't get through anything without something effusive about Connor Bedard. And it just, I don't know, it rankled me there. I get it. It's cheerleading and all that, but it's like they wanted to make love to Connor Bedard. That's how affectionate. That's how just they couldn't get enough of this guy. And those moves are sexy. Those are like fuckable moves. You know what I mean?
Wow.
No, I'm serious. So as a nation, yeah. But TSN was like, oh, this guy he's going to be the biggest hunk. He's going to be the greatest hockey player, the cutest kid, the biggest on social media. He's 17 years old.
17, yeah.
And but the feature that they put together with him at home, where they remember another thing is this kid people have seen this kid play since he was like 5 years old because of the fact that we can record everything and the videos available. So putting a feature together on Connor Bedard is easy. You just get the home movies. You just get the stuff from the family. What have you got? I'm sure. And even before he reached this, I'm sure that family, come on, your parents, you've got all kinds of stuff. What do you need from my kid? I got it. Here it is. Edit it all together. And now you got a feature. So now they go to Connor Bedard's family, I'm sure, and say, hey, we want to do a big, nice feature on him. So now this whole documentary basically is what it is. It's like I don't know, 10 minutes or whatever it was all stuff that the Bedards had shot, right? Like TSN didn't go with their own camera. They shot some stuff, but they didn't go get anything new. This was all family archived stuff. And so here he is getting his cast cut off of his right hand. You know, you're right in the hospital room as it's being done. And
right.
So it's all documented. His whole life has been documented as a hockey player, but as a kid too. So now we get a closer look than anybody has ever gotten at any athlete. And the kid's 17. He's used to being on camera. He's used to having his accomplishments recorded and played back. He's used to it. It's weird. Like, what don't we know about this guy? Every goal he's ever scored is on tape. We've seen it.
Such is this age, Hebsy. This is just we all have a phone in our pocket now. We all have a video camera in our pocket. It's
very different now. It's just you're exposed, and that's why people expect the greatest things in the world from this guy. Okay, what do we got to do before we start this, baby?
Let's start it right now. Okay, let's do it.
Hang on, wait a second. Wait just a second. I gotta find.
Let me know.
I gotta find my script. There it is. There it is.
Here it is. Bam.
Bam. Here it is. All right. Let's go.
All right. I am the boss because I get to start the theme song. So here we go. Actually, we're going to start again. You know, I'm the boss, and I'm going to mess it up here. It's okay. Everybody's excited. Here we go.
Hey there, sports fans. Hebsy on Sports, episode number 315. I'm your host, Mark Hepsher. Welcome to the podcast. Toronto Mike is standing by at the mothership in New Toronto. I'm in the Little Italy studio. Very excited here. It's Friday morning. Weekend's coming. Lots to talk about. Some of it very sad. Some of it very, very, very happy. Very good way to start the weekend. We're all excited about stuff. And as a Canadian, proud that our boys are young, and I say boys, under 20s, right, are world champions again. Every year, Canada wins the World Junior Hockey Championship. In our minds, we've won it every year. It's just we do it in such dramatic fashion every year. We won it last year. Pretty sure we've won it every year since they started.
Yeah, that's right. Every spring a parade down Bay Street.
Exactly. Every year. And if we don't win it, it's like, national, gnawing of teeth and gnashing of teeth, and Hockey Canada's like, whew, off the hook. Okay, let's hope that nothing comes out of this, 2023 World Junior Hockey Championships in Halifax. Last time they were in Halifax, remember? Still investigation going on. Still, low-hanging fruit there. So we're Canadian. We're excited. Happy to be here for Hebsy on Sports. We're going to get to the Team Canada story in a minute. Mike, the other night, my son Dean took me to see the Dave Chappelle performance at the Scotiabank Arena. It was unbelievable. Now, have you been to shows before where they take your phone?
Never, no.
Lock it up? All right.
Not yet.
So imagine you're at the Dave Chappelle show and you're watching this from a private box, which we did. And you meet a couple of incredibly famous people. And you would love to take a picture with them, and they would like to take a picture with you, but you can't because your camera is locked in a little thing that you have.
Right.
But it can't be unlocked because it's a Dave Chappelle show, and there will be no recordings whatsoever. I've been to shows like this before, and I'm cool with it because I'm there to see the performance. I don't need to be on my phone, but I would like to snap a picture, but I get it. But I want to get a picture with these people. How do I get a picture with these people? How do I get a photo with someone? Right. I got to wait until I exit the Scotiabank Arena. And only then do they unlock the pouch. Here's your phone. Throw the pouch back in the thing. Get out. And now you're out onto Bay Street. Now you got your camera.
Right.
Now you got to find these people. You're not going to do it. So anyway,
Do we get to find out who?
No one would believe me. No one would believe me. I need to see a photo, Hebsy.
I'll believe you, but I
need to see a photo, Hebsy. Need to see a photo.
How famous are these people?
Incredibly famous. Remarkably famous. There's no photographic evidence. So, but nice people. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. The show was great. The show was great. The best joke of the night was not by Dave Chappelle, but was by Rick Ingram, one of the, and by the way, I mean, Chappelle's awesome. But the lineup of comedians that preceded him, the opening acts were sensational. Were like 15 minutes of dynamite. Mike, high energy, 50, like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. Best joke of the night, okay? Best joke of the night. And all these comedians, all of them, they look at the people who are in the front rows of the audience and they point them out. Hi, hello, you two. Where are you from? How'd you meet? You know, stuff like that. Standard stuff from a good stand-up comedian. You know, you engage the audience. Maybe you piss somebody off. Maybe you get some good shit going, right? You know what I mean? Maybe somebody heckles you, which no comedian likes, but they can all handle it. And so in this particular case here, the comedian Rick Ingram goes up to this couple, and she's wearing a hijab, okay? And he's got on, I believe he's wearing a turban, right? Some headgear. But anyway, now you can't see these people. They don't put them up on the big screen like they do with certain. You only see the comedian on the big screen, and that you can't tell. And so he's describing, oh, you're wearing a hijab and stuff like that. No, I'm sorry. He was wearing a turban, and she was Asian. So he says, oh, hello, a mixed couple. How are you? How did you two meet? Blah, 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 blah. And now he says, you're Indian, sir. He goes, yes. He goes, so he says, you must have met on Indian Tinder. And the guy kind of goes like this. He goes, oh, you don't know, folks, have any of you heard of Indian Tinder before? Yeah. You download the app, and then your parents swipe left or right. And the place just goes nuts. You're there to laugh. You have to. The other thing is, you're there for a comedy show. You're there to laugh.
Sure, right? Of course.
You're ready to laugh. And this was beautiful. The setup was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then later, this woman started heckling Dave Chappelle, right? Who, by the way, is a chain smoker. On stage, it says no smoking. I guess he pays the fine or whatever it is, or however that works, right? He has to smoke. He has to. And he's chain smoking, which is odd, very weird to, because I'm watching him smoke and I'm kind of losing the flow a little bit, because he stops and kind of struggles, and you're going, fucking light that fucking cigarette already. Like, fucking light it. Let's go. And he's weird. He handles it weirdly. Like it's like he's got cerebral palsy in his hands or something like that. It's goofy looking. And it does take away. You know, you can look away and listen to what he's saying sometimes, you know, rather than kind of watch him. But anyway, there's this heckler who's like, you know, at some point he's like, one of the punchlines was, you know, it's the Jews' fault was the punchline, and everybody's like, ha! Everyone's like, ha! Because he's saying it in a context where we understand he's making a joke, right? He's like, oh, you got problems there? Blame the Jews, like everybody, like, and everyone laughs, right? Trust me, in context, it was very funny. And then out of nowhere, some woman yells out, fuck the Jews.
Wow.
And now he starts going into, and now it's like, okay, this wasn't planned, but this is good. And I mean, I guess eviscerate wouldn't work for a woman. Now, would it? You can't use that term. She got kicked out, and it got a little nasty for a while there, and security had to come, but he put her in her place. But it just goes to show you how volatile, someone's comedy can be, to attract something like that. But I mean, for the most part, everyone was like, we're here to have fun, right? It was a really good show, really good show, but good. No photographic evidence. Couldn't.
Okay, you don't have to name names, but what level of fame are we talking about here?
5 stars. These are people you find at 5-star hotels. They rent suites out or entire floors.
Wow.
5-star hotels.
You were at Chappelle.
Fucking take helicopters to places.
Okay, sounds like you were there with John Travolta. That's what I'm hearing right now. Wow.
These people would like John Travolta. Who's that? That old guy from Saturday Night Fever. Oh, that guy from Welcome Back, Kotter. Anyway, let's get to some sports. We'll get to Team Canada in a minute. But first, the story that we've been following all week. You've been following it all week. The tragedy on Monday Night Football. The near tragedy on Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills assistant athletic trainer Danny Kellington. Remember that name. Denny Kellington is the real life hero. He's the guy who first administered CPR to Damar Hamlin on Monday night, seconds after the Bills player collapsed on the field. The speed and skill which Kellington and others reacted to was absolutely vital in saving Hamlin's life. And he should be recognized here, and he is. Hamlin's still in critical condition, but has shown, quote, substantial improvement. And yesterday wrote down a question. He can't speak. He wrote down a question, who won the game? And the doctor told him that he won the game of life. Wow. And that, I mean, I was in tears when I heard that. That has everybody breathing a sigh of relief, huge sigh of relief, especially his teammates and the extended Buffalo Bills family. The Bills are at home to New England Sunday afternoon. The NFL has declared that Monday night's game has been canceled and will not be replayed. So, Mike, one scenario has playoff seedings based on the team's winning percentage, right? Buffalo and will not be able, nor will Cincinnati be able to complete the 17-game schedule. So with one missed game, their record, their percentage. So what's happened is NFL teams today, it's 9:10 a.m., I think sometime around noon, will make an announcement and consider in a special league meeting what to do. So two elements. Number one, the AFC Championship game will be played at a neutral site. If the participating teams played an unequal number of games and both could have been the number one seed and hosted the game had all AFC clubs played a full 17-game regular season. So those circumstances involve Buffalo or Cincinnati qualifying for the game as a road team. Got this? Scenario number one, Buffalo and KC both win or they both tie. That would mean Buffalo versus Kansas City championship game at a neutral site. To be determined. Like where? Like California? Detroit, which has a dome, and they're not in the playoffs. Like where? St. Louis would be a good neutral site. Right? Better for Kansas City, Buffalo. But Buffalo is going to have to travel anyway. Their fans have to travel. Bills Mafia going to travel no matter what. But you got to have you got to have enough notice here to say, if this happens, this game will be played, in, like I said, in a dome somewhere, likely, I would think, as neutral as you can get. Scenario two, Buffalo and Kansas City both lose, and Baltimore wins or ties. A Buffalo-Kansas City championship game would be at a neutral site. Scenario three, Buffalo and Kansas City both lose, and Cincinnati wins. A Buffalo or Cincinnati versus KC championship game, neutral site. Wow. Now, there's other scenarios involving Baltimore, just Baltimore. Let's leave it this way for now. The big question, where do they hold the neutral site game? Houston, Detroit, the Rose Bowl, St. Louis. That's what they have to deal with. So Buffalo, I think Buffalo should be able to host the championship game, but I understand that unless you can complete the schedule and that win it, really win it, then you're going to have to accept this. I would think that, the fact that Hamlin is alive, looks like he'll live, is enough for the Bills to go, man, if you would have asked me at the time, will we take it if, in a neutral site, we'll go, for sure we will. We'll anything, So that's the deal. So the Bills have to play New England so they got to win that game. And then if that happens, then you get into those other scenarios. Pretty wild stuff. Now back to Monday night. Mike, you were watching, you saw it in real time?
No, I was watching Canada versus Slovakia, and then I saw on Twitter that there was an incident, and I flipped over to catch up on what's going on and then watch the rest of overtime. But so I was not watching live. I take it you were watching the game live.
I as soon as I saw the tweet, like I jumped over to it and I stayed with it. It was compelling. It was horrible television. And by that, I mean, it was horribly presented. There wasn't a contingency plan. Now, I've never produced live television, certainly not to that magnitude. I've produced, local shows, half-hour shows where I was anchoring and producing at the same time. Not even close. But I've worked on live shows. When something happens, you're prepared. Now, had the lights gone out and they would go, okay, back to the studio, back to the booth, they would have had to fill time. Had there been an injury on the field where they had to bring out the ambulance or a stretcher, someone had a terrible spinal injury or something to that effect, they know how to fill time. But in this scenario, it was really badly done. And then we found out, at the time, everyone was outraged. Why did they say this? And then we found out, or or some people found out what had really happened. Okay. When Hamlin's heart stopped beating on the field, ESPN play-by-play announcer Joe Buck repeatedly informed millions of TV viewers that both teams would warm up for 5 minutes before continuing play. Now, ESPN, like the NFL, denies this, but ESPN even showed Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow tossing practice throws. Okay. Now, I didn't see this, but I wasn't watching the live telecast at this point where they showed that. Right. So I'm reading this now and going, oh, I wasn't watching live at the time. And remember, they did not replay the incident. They did not replay it. If you wanted to go see it, you know, you're on your own there.
Twitter, yeah.
It was a horror show. Terrible. Oh God. So this is what Buck said. I'm quoting here. They've been given 5 minutes to, quote unquote, get ready to go back to playing. That's the word we get from the league and the word we get from down on the field, but nobody's moving, said Joe Buck, end quote. I was shocked when I heard this, by the way. No way could they go back. As far as I was concerned, no way could they go back to playing. Like if I was a player, I'd go, I can't do it. If I was a coach, I'd say, I can't coach the next play. I mean, I got a guy who's one of our brothers here dying. So here's what happens. So this is what Buck says. So now ESPN and everyone is like, you know, they know this is happening. They've told the audience that, you know, they're planning on, you know, after 5 minutes, you know, warming up. So here's what happens. The NFL's executive vice president of operations, Troy Vincent, former Miami Dolphin, former NFL player, strongly denied ESPN's story on a media call after the game. Said, no, we never told them that. And then he says, like, and I would know, he says, right? Because I was in constant touch with the commissioner, Goodell, with the executive director of the NFLPA, Damar Smith, and I was in constant with the two head coaches. So I know, this is Troy Vincent. Quote, it never crossed our mind to talk about warming up to resume play. That's ridiculous. That's insensitive. And that's not a place that we should ever be in. And this is the NFL. I don't have to tell you about the NFL. You know about this fucking league. Oh, concussions. You can't tie concussions with CTE. What are you, fucking nuts? These idiots, these wealthy billionaires, you know, this fucking league. I mean, the Ray Rice investigation. I mean, off the top of my head, there's fucking 5 or 6 disgusting things that the NFL did. Tried to cover up shit, all this stuff. And now they're backing up. I mean, like ESPN, what they're lying. They're going, oh no, the league never told us this. That's what we told Joe Buck. That's what he wanted to hear, so that fans would keep watching or shit like that. Bullshit. This is the fucking NFL played 2 days after Kennedy was fucking assassinated. They don't give a shit at all. And now they're backtracking. So here's the deal. The NFL's denying the story the ESPN put out that the broadcasters, and this is Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they just fucking signed 5-year deals, Mike, for $75 million fucking dollars. First, ESPN just got the contract. I think they have the Super Bowl this year. I think they have it next year too. Massive deal for ESPN. And this is their first. And now here's Joe Buck being basically told by the NFL, oh, you fucking liar. Wow. And we never told you that. They were going to warm up for 5 minutes. We never said that. League totally dropped the ball. Totally fucking dropped the ball and left their people hanging. I mean, Susie Colbert, Adam Schefter. If Booker McFarland doesn't come out and say, look, this isn't about football anymore. NFL shouldn't play. Just stop the game right now. Okay? And he's more of an independent contractor. I mean, I'm sure he makes a nice buck from ESPN. Don't get me wrong, but he's the type of guy that can say those things. Susie Colbert and Adam Schefter are they're wags for the league. They don't go up against the league. They're being paid by the league here. They're NFL specialists. They're on the NFL shows. Trust me. And then they got to go back to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And they're like, well, what are we going to tell? I don't know. Right. The fucking poor guy. Let's go back to Joe Buck. No, find some other programming. We'll get back to you. We'll run a crawl if anything changes. But for now, the game's suspended. And that's it. Get out of there. It was painful to fucking watch. Painful to watch. But I'll tell you this right now. What it did was it showed you, number one, how difficult it is in a live situation to be able to articulate something, right, as a professional and kind of try to, walk that fine line of being a professional, being a journalist, and also but telling the truth and feeling the emotion of it, Lisa Salters was phenomenal. Let's go to Lisa Salters. It's like, Lisa, talk as long as you can. We got to feel like whatever. And professional. She's a mother. She's like telling you this heartfelt, this is visceral. Okay. I mean, she's imagining the family, the mother of of Hamlin, Damar Hamlin, going to the hospital with him in the ambulance, like shit like that. That's amazing reporting. And there's nothing to report on. Remember, there's no status update. You're telling people what you witnessed and how you feel as a mother and as a reporter, and heartfelt observations. Man, it was just crazy. And then afterwards, Scott Van Pelt was outstanding. And a lot of these guys, it really was compelling, but really hard to watch.
Tough to watch, but I'm curious what they could have done differently. Like
they could have thrown to some other programming and said, we'll let you know if there's an update. But
I know they could
always hang these announcers out to dry when they clearly had nothing else to say. Nothing.
Kept you tuned in though. Like I'm just thinking,
why? It's like watching an 18-wheeler go over a cliff. I hate to say it. It's like watching cockfighting. It's like watching auto racing. I don't hope there's a crash, but there's something about this. Like, this is wrong. It was wrong as far as I was concerned.
Because I flipped. I wanted to see overtime. So quarterfinal elimination games. I was watching overtime, and I had Twitter for any updates on what was happening in Cincinnati. But I did feel so when Bedard scored this beauty goal to win that game. I actually did not go to Twitter. I think by default I'd go to Twitter and celebrate somehow. And I did not. Like I read the room, and I felt like celebrating a hockey goal at that time was like inappropriate and tone deaf with a man's life in the balance. So I tempered my reaction, and I'm glad to hear if he's able to communicate now, that's huge progress that young man has made in the last few days. Like, that's great news.
And again, it shows you that that CPR was performed. Think about this. Yeah. If you were going to have an incident like that, the place you wanted to have it at would be at an NFL game where within like 50 yards away are trained professionals. Like, within like something happened, boom, they're there. You're not waiting around for the ambulance to get through traffic. And that was another thing. One of the rumors was that the NFL didn't tell people that they were going to suspend the game for fear of people trying to leave the stadium and therefore clogging up traffic. So the ambulance wouldn't be able to get to the medical center, right? That it would be clogged for traffic. How about that, eh? So all this contingent, like thinking, okay, look, as well as I do, especially big corporations, they spend millions of dollars ensuring that they have insurance, but also contingency plans, that the crisis management, all that, right? Especially leagues like the NFL have to. And so all of this kind of comes into play. Like, how much did they know? What were they going to tell you? What were their plans? They're denying the fact that because the NFL at the time was like, oh, hopefully it's not too bad. If they get into an ambulance, can we start playing again in 5 minutes? Right? Totally insensitive. And then backtracking from it. Bullshit. Fucking NFL. And now they're going to be, that like no one's going to be happy that that they understand that the game can't be replayed. But here's a perfect example of the NFL trying to squeeze the fucking schedule. Like I told you, Mike, we're going to be playing into the middle of February, March, one of these days. It just gets longer and longer, adding another week. No week for the rest, right to the playoffs, right to the wild card round, right? There's no room there. What are you going to do? You're going to play your final regular season game the same weekend as the wild card? You can't do it. Yeah.
There's an off week. Like, can't they just not have the week off before the Super Bowl?
There is no Super Bowl. We're not talking about the Super Bowl. You're getting too far ahead of yourself with the Super Bowl.
No, but you just move everything up a week. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, wait a second. What about people who've got accommodations for the Super Bowl on whatever the date is? I was like,
you
sorry,
don't move
it's the following
Super Bowl.
week.
You get rid of that week off before. Like, I'm just spitballing. What do I know? I just know they have a week off before the Super Bowl.
You're getting way too far ahead of yourself.
I'm too far ahead.
You've got people that have got tickets and reservations for games, for play there. Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. It's, they're going to have to figure it out. All right. One thing we don't have to figure is when it comes to this time of year, we're either the best in the world or we're like, oh, we lost. What are we going to do now? And then, there's this creative, sadomasochism or whatever with regards to Canadian junior hockey players. Are we the best in the world? What's wrong with us? Why can't we develop good goaltending? And well, guess what? Okay. Every year at this time, we go through this and 2 weeks later, it's back to normal. It's the same thing. These are a bunch of kids that got together for a couple of weeks and we won gold, as we're expected to do every year. It comes as no surprise that they won it again this year in dramatic fashion again. And the road to get there was an arduous one when they lost in that first game, 6-3 to the Czechs. Everyone was like, what the fuck? Right? And the questions, of course, started. The same way, I'm sure, when Argentina lost the first game of the World Cup in the group stage to Saudi Arabia, people were like, what's happening? Fucking relax, people. You should know by now that you've got to play the games. Like, one game doesn't make a difference. It just doesn't. So it should come as no surprise that we won this year. In overtime, we beat the Czechs. Okay, we got our revenge. Final was 3-2. Dylan Gunter?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Gunter.
From Edmonton, as my wife reminds me.
Yeah, from Edmonton. Scores second goal of the game. Beauty finish. Like, I love 3-on-3. Love it. Love it. That's the way you settle a gold medal. That's the way the World Cup should do it from now on in soccer. I don't give a fuck, but play until somebody actually scores the winning goal. Reduce the number of players on the pitch. I mean, that 3-on-3 is wild. You make one little mistake like that Czech player did when he just lost control. One little mistake, boom, done, 2-on-1. Yeah. Excellent scoring chance. Fabulous goaltending. Great to watch. Really, really exciting. Okay, really exciting. But the big surprise was Connor Bedard did not score 4 points, including the winning goal in overtime by deking out all three Czech players and the goalie and scoring a miraculous highlight reel goal that'll go down in history as the greatest goal in the history. No, he did that in the quarterfinal, against Slovakia. And that was nice, but let's not get too excited. He's not a generational player. He may be a generational player, but can we stop on the youngest of young and making these comparisons? Well, when Bobby Orr was this age, come on, and Gretzky, I get that. I get it. But come on, man. I mean, the TSN people it's so in love with Connor Bedard, like in love with him, that it just got to be a little sickening sometimes.
You can't blame them.
No. You can't blame them. I get it. But this whole oh my God, generational player. He's not the second coming of Gretzky. Don't say that. Don't say it. And even he, in the post-game interview, he was fucking fed up. He said, I don't want to talk about me. Right. And he was, I won't say nasty, but he was very direct. Yeah. I don't want to talk about me.
Right.
He's fucking sick of it. Well, Connor, what about this? You're comparing it with this. And fuck off. Just let me fucking play hockey. Maybe I don't want to be so good, so fast. Can you imagine the kid imagine if he played in a Canadian city? Holy shit. He's going to end up, I tell you right now, he's going to play in a Canadian city. He's going to meet an American actress who's shooting a movie in that city. He's going to marry that American actress in that Canadian city. And they're going to move to that American actress's hometown or California or Texas or whatever the fuck it is. And it's going to be the whole thing over. That's what's going to happen. Meanwhile, Morgan Riley's engaged to Tessa Virtue.
I saw that. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. I like that. Okay.
That was like a pandemic relationship, I think. Like everybody had to, go into
That's
quarantine.
Right. From Vancouver. That's right.
Hey, we're together for this quarantine, and all of Canada is like, oh, okay.
don't knock the pandemic relationships. I'm in one, and it's going beautifully.
Maybe this is we were onto something here.
There you go.
Hey, can I just, because you said generational player a couple of times, and I know that term gets used. Of course, it's a misnomer, right? Because generational player, we just got McDavid like yesterday, right? How old is McDavid? So we're now talking like every 10 years. Like that's not a generation, 10 years, right? Like these are like decade old.
Again. I mean, he hasn't even been drafted into the league. I mean, look, he has got tremendous talent. Of
course.
But let's just take it easy. Every number one pick, like it seems, and there are some that are like, well, is he the consensus number one pick in the NHL draft? The expectations are incredibly high. Look at this year. Look at Yaroslavsky from Montreal, right?
Right.
Oh my God. So it's going to be wild. The kid's great though, man. Oh, what a talent.
So just this last week, I was talking with Jeff Merrick, like to compare, like, is this guy as good as McDavid? I need a sense of like, what do you mean? What's going on here? And he says he's like a Peter Forsberg type. So I don't, Peter Forsberg was a hell of a player. So we're not talking Gretzkyville, but we're talking exceptional NHL player if all goes according to plan. It's exciting. It is exciting.
Mike, if all goes according to plan, you will be on the Mount Rushmore of podcasting. They'll be talking about you for years to come. Right? They will. They'll be going, Mike Boone back in, when no one, when Bubblegum and Chicken Wire were holding podcasters together, and look at this empire that he built. Because that's the path that you're all hoping for. We're all hoping for the same for ourselves, for our children, for our loved ones, that path.
Hope is all we have.
But again, you're talking about strangers going, well, if he keeps going the way he's going, he's on pace to black. That's to me, the on pace to. What, really, what does that mean? You're taking some numbers and making comparisons. On pace, if he keeps up this pace. Well, what pace is that? What pace are we talking about? In all honesty, in life, who keeps up a pace like that? And I look at stuff I'll say, well, every year he gets better. And, here's his stats. He had this many hits, and the following year he had more, and the following year he had more. And he's on this upward. If he keeps this, if he keeps this up, he's going to get hit every time he comes to bat. Is that what you're talking about?
But I don't mean to interrupt you.
I'm telling you this right now. If this kid scores misses a couple chances, or something happens to him and people start getting down on him, well, what the fuck did you expect? Well, we expected him to score a beautiful goal every time he was on the ice, every single time. So you set these high standards and people see them, and now everything is available. People can see it now. They see that people don't put together highlight reels of the shitty goals or the misses. It's only the goals. So we're conditioned, Mike, to see. We see Connor Bedard. We expect greatness. We expect electrifying. We expect, oh my God, and if he's just pedantic, or he's playing on, I don't know, he doesn't learn to check, or he has to get sent down like Shane Wright did, I don't know. Hopefully not. You can't see it now. You can't imagine him not being a great player, right? You can't imagine it. It's impossible to. But man, we went through that with how many other people, how many other players, and how many other sports? Okay.
Good points, Hebsy. But there's no, my thing is sports is all about entertainment and fun. And the fact that the 17-year-old kid is this good, this early, and
fabulous.
When we finally do get a World Cup in 2025 or whatever, the idea that McDavid and this kid are going to play together, and it's just, he's ours. It's kind of more exciting that he's going to suit up in red and white when we are at the World Cup and all that. It's, we're just getting excited about a phenom.
Yeah.
That's okay, right? That's okay.
I don't think he likes the tag phenom. I mean, he's a great player and all that, but I think the way he went, he wants to be a team guy. He doesn't want to, and he's not the most glib guy, and that's okay because he's young.
Yeah.
He's a hockey player, but anyway, let's lower the expectations. Just lower the expectations. Okay. Pretend he's your kid. Oh, he's going to be the greatest player ever. He's going to.
You know what that means?
No. Take out the garbage, make your bed,
right?
Get your chores done, work your ass off. I mean, the story that he didn't use his right hand at all, right arm, for 3 months while it was in a cast, and only used his left hand, and was committed at the age of 11 or whatever the hell, or 12 years old. To me, that was this guy is dedicated. And that's the best. The best never stop practicing. Never stop trying to get better.
Right.
But this kid's got that work ethic. McDavid had that work ethic. Gretzky had that work ethic.
Crosby.
Right? Michael Jordan had that work ethic. And other guys didn't. They were naturally talented, and they were still great players. But they didn't have. So let's just see. It's great. It's fun. I love it. But if it was every 4 years, it would be even wilder. But of course, then you're missing 3 classes of
you can't
juniors. You can't do it if it's a junior tournament. And plus you get these, there's these people on Twitter going, oh, I wish the Scotiabank Arena, the fans were as loud as the ones in Halifax. Fuck right off. You're talking about a tournament where this is an elimination tournament, 1 game, you're going wild. It's not versus a 40-game home schedule.
Yeah, and it's different. I was at that gold medal game.
Different.
Very different. Everyone's got the Canada jersey on. It's
of course they
different
do.
That corporate Maple Leaf Gardens networking environment you get in the lower bowl. It's completely different.
Congratulations to Canada. Great for Halifax. Great for Atlantic Canada to witness something like that. They deserve that. And by the way, the U.S. won the bronze medal, beating Sweden 8-7 in overtime. In just fucking wild, crazy. All right, I wasn't even aware, Mike, that the Toronto Maple Leafs were hosting the Seattle Kraken last night at the Scotiabank Arena, because the Canada-Czech game, of course, was on the gold medal game. Now, you can't look at your schedule in advance and go, oh, geez, gold medal game's the same. I guess there were people that were, and those who chose to go to the Leafs-Seattle game who were probably kicking themselves. What the hell? And apparently the Leafs weren't aware that they were supposed to play Seattle last night either, because they lost 5-1, even though Seattle couldn't manage a shot on goal in the first 11 and a half minutes. They let a shot on goal. The shots were 9-3 after the first period. There wasn't any scoring. Seattle had 26 shots on goal and scored 5 times on Matt Murray, who, I don't know, man. And I hate to say this, but now the question of goaltending, we're starting to let in, too many goals. We're not scoring as many goals. It's a midseason lull. Hey, dude, come on. The team will make the playoffs. It's all about what happens in the playoffs. That's all about it. Leafs are 11 points back of Boston, who is setting records galore. They set another record yesterday. I think they tied their own record that they set in like 1930 when Art Ross was their coach. And I don't know, Milt Schmidt and those guys, I think, might have been playing the Kraut line. Oh, my God.
Did you watch the Fenway Park game?
Yeah, I couldn't see what was going on. I'm tired of those games now. How many have we had? How many of those games have we had?
How many?
1,000? Really? And if you've ever been to one, you can't see what's going on. You can't see. It's about the atmosphere. It's about the atmosphere. I get it. But Mike, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Here's what I think they should do.
Tell me.
Every year, the All-Star game should be the outdoor game.
But like an exhibition game?
No, the All-Star game, the NHL All-Star game.
Which is an exhibition game.
Should be outdoors. That should be outdoors. That's what you have outdoors. Get the guys dressing up in outdoor gear, the toques, the happening, the fun stuff, man. It's fun. It's the All-Star game, okay? That's what you have. That's what you have. And the rest of the outdoor games, forget them. Forget the outdoor games. Hey, come on. I don't want to watch a game with 77,000 people. I get it. Hey, I was at the game, 105,000 people. Yeah, did you see anything? You're watching that game, and think about this. The ice are 200 by 85 on a football field.
Right.
That's crazy, man. I mean, the players look like raisins on a marshmallow.
Right.
What the and a lot of times the jerseys, like in the Pittsburgh-Boston game, are so funky looking you can't tell the numbers. Right? It's a goofy looking jersey, and the font or the color scheme is like, who is that? Well, so not only are you far away, like really far away, but like it's just not. I don't know.
Well, you're talking to we're two guys who watched the Raptors play at Skydome, so we know what that's like. But before we pivot to the Raptors, when did this happen? Okay, so when I listened to CBC talking about that game yesterday, they talk about Canada beat the Czech Republic, but on TSN they strictly refer to Czech Republic as Chechia. Is there a correct term for this country right now?
No, there is not, because there is a country called, I believe it's called Chechnya. Chechnya.
Well, that's part of Russia, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So Chechnya, and now we've gone from, they were called Czechoslovakia, and then they split the Czech Republic. Right. So there's the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And now the Czech Republic is known as Chechia. But people from Czechoslovakia, from that area, are known as Czechs. Right. The Czechs. So it's sort of like this. The country is called Netherlands. People from the Netherlands are called Dutch. Right. It's also known as Holland. Take your pick.
Okay. Well, Holland's a province, but okay. So,
but what I'm saying to you is that they're known as the Dutch.
But don't you think it's interesting that
they're known as the Czechs and the Slovaks? They're known as the Serbians. They're known as the Croatians, the Croats. They're known as people from the region are known as, we're Canadians, they're Americans, Mexicans. So if we put it that way, as opposed to naming the country the Federal Republic of, or the Irish Republic of, or the United Kingdom, which is England, or all of that shit, right? It's okay, fine. Like the Maritimes and the United Kingdom. Name me the provinces and name me part of the United. What's the United Kingdom? Mike, do you know what the United Kingdom is?
Wales and Scotland and England, and I think that's it, right?
No. Northern Ireland.
Oh, right? Northern Ireland. Yes, of course. Northern Ireland.
There you go. And the Maritimes?
That one I can do because it's not Newfoundland, so it's
right. There we know.
So all I'll say is,
and hang on a second, wait a second. So you're talking about regions, right? So now it's like, the region that used the former region that was known as Czechoslovakia, where the people who were from that region are known as Czechs.
That's different. Right?
That's that country.
CBC
is the capital,
and the Olympics call it the Czech Republic, and TSN calls it Chechia. So it is interesting that they have two different names for the same country. That is interesting.
I guess if you find
I find it interesting because I didn't hear the word Chechia until this years ago or something.
Not even right. I never heard it called.
TSN used it last time,
or if I did, maybe I confused it with Chechnya.
And they're great hockey players.
Totally.
And that is another thing. Thankfully, we didn't invite Russia to this tournament in a sport that only has like 5 superpowers. Cutting one out. Yeah, it's interesting. We don't miss them either. So, but you got some heat last week on Twitter. You got some heat for suggesting you were rooting for Alex Ovechkin to break his leg. I saw a lot of tweets like ankle. Sorry. Well, it's part of the leg. No, okay. But you got a lot of heat.
Much more severe than breaking your leg. You can come back from a broken leg.
Anything to say to all those people who were thinking you wanted harm on another human being, that you were a bad person?
Yeah. Because he supports a regime that is committing genocide. Yeah. I think that's enough of a reason. He supports the regime.
Yeah,
he's not indifferent about the regime. He supports the regime, which means he supports what they're doing, which means he doesn't care about human life.
So how do you feel when all the moms of the Montreal Canadiens, all the moms are smiling for a photo with this guy? Like, how does that make you feel?
They're idiots, right? They're idiots. They want to be able to tell them that they met the great goal scorer. They don't care that he supports a regime that murders. So if I'm Ukrainian, for example, and I'm not, and I see these Montreal Canadiens moms, I may not let my Ukrainian kid, be such a Habs fan so fast. Maybe think about things like that. I don't know. Hard to say, but that you're going to get more and more people who are going to want to get their picture taken. You just are, but it doesn't mean that I have to support this guy. I hope he breaks his ankle. Okay? I hope he doesn't break Gretzky's record, because he's not worthy as a human being. There you go. That's my call. Okay, where were we? The Maple Leafs, 11 points back of Boston. They got a 4-point edge on Tampa. The Bolts have 2 games in hand. Leafs at home to Detroit Saturday night. After the Leafs, it's a long way down to Buffalo and Detroit and like even Ottawa. They're considerably far back. So the Leafs, they're going to make the playoffs. Yeah, of course, we know that, right? Pretty much a guarantee. But after that, we don't know. The other night, like many fans, I turned off the Raptors-Bucks game with Milwaukee holding a huge lead in the fourth quarter. The Raps were not going to come back. And of course, I've got Twitter next to me, and whoa, what? They've cut it to what? They were down 21 and they're down what? So I flip back and they're down 7 and there's like 30 seconds to go, 26 seconds to go, whatever. And now I hear, yes, they were down. I didn't know this. They scored 16 points in a minute. They scored 12 in the whole first quarter. They scored 16 points in a minute. And Gary Trent Jr. hit a 3-pointer, which I saw with my very own eyes in real time in the dying seconds to send the game into overtime. Unbelievable. Apparently half the crowd had left. They left the game. And now they're hearing, and another 3 minutes down. And now their lead has been cut to 15. And they're going, they're going 15. And then they get to their car. It's like, down to 7. And they're, Jesus Christ, 7. Oh, they'll never do it. There's 26 seconds to go. And they're getting their cars and they're listening. And Trent said it. They're going, holy shit. We left. They were down by 21. They've tied it. They go to overtime. And then they just, they couldn't hit a shot in overtime. Just talk about the air coming out of the balloon. Like you blew it up, you blew that balloon up. There was nothing. It was flaccid. And then in the final minute of the fourth quarter, you come back incredibly. And, and then overtime. Terrible. They lost 104-101 to and a really good Milwaukee team. Raptors now 16-22 and a full game out of a play-in spot, which begs the question, Mike, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Number 1. Should the Raptors go for him?
Is he as good as Connor Bedard? I'm just kidding.
Yes, they said that's what they're saying. There you go. He's the Connor Bedard.
The Connor Bedard of basketball.
Right?
Oh, man. I don't like tanking. I don't like tanking. No.
Hey, a tankathon. Teams are good. Look, the Houston Rockets right now have the worst record in the NBA, 10-29. So they would have the greatest chance at this particular point. Raptors are 16-22. That's not much. 6.5 games. Right?
I hope they don't tank. How do you feel about that?
I am getting close to I see this team and I don't see Fred VanVleet leading this team to another championship. I think he's going to be past his prime. I think Siakam's a great player. I think OG's got to stay healthy. I don't know about Trent Jr. I don't know. What kind of team are we going to have? Who are we going to build our team around? Well, let's, we've got Scotty Barnes, who's having a terrible second season. He's the sophomore slump.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, but this happens to a lot of young men, right? You have a great first season, rookie of the year. Everyone's talking you up. You're the Connor Bedard of the NBA, right? Or no, Connor Bedard was going to be the Scotty Barnes, whatever. People have, it happens. Sure. The sophomore jinx, and Scotty Barnes is going through it this year. He's not the player he was last year. He doesn't have the confidence. Other teams are defending him differently. He's having more trouble defensively, that's for sure. He was a wild card last year on the defense, and now they're getting to him. They can trap him. He's learning. We'll see, but I don't know. Not just yet. 16-22, right? 38 games, 82 game schedule. But unless they improve, unless they put themselves in a playoff position, and can they go places in the playoffs? That's the other thing is, you're making the playoffs, yeah, but I mean, can you go places with this roster?
Not with it, no.
Okay, tonight the New York Knicks come to town. They got some good players. They got this Canadian kid, Barrett. He's pretty good. RJ, pretty fucking good player for you. So, and he'll get some cheers too. In baseball, Rafael Devers of the Red Sox signed an 11-year, $331 million deal to stay. 11 years. That's the new one now, hey, Mike? 11 years, except for Carlos Correa, who still hasn't signed. That's a weird story.
Yeah.
That is bonkers.
That's been announced by two teams, right?
Yeah, by two teams. Jeez. I mean, you know what? I mean, the Jays could end up getting Correa. They could get him for 2 years and $36 million just for a little try, just a little taste.
But what are they seeing in the medical?
I don't know, but come on, man. I mean, we're not talking about a guy not signing a 1 year, 2 year deal. We're talking about a guy not a 12 year. They offered him 12 years, 360 million or whatever it was, and then pending a medical. We don't like the red flags. And then the Mets. What's going on? Like, what is it? And is he working now? Obviously, he's working out or trying to do something to improve his medical condition so that he can sign a contract with the team and pass a physical. Crazy. Nuts. So anyway, 11 years, $331 million for Devers. So Devers' best buddy is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. These guys work out together. They know each other's game. They're similar players, corner infielders. Okay. So Vladdy has every right, maybe not now, maybe if he has a big season this year or continues doing what he's doing after this season, to get a deal like that. If you're the Jays, you go, man, this is our future. This is our guy. And we're putting our money on this guy here. We got Springer for a few more years, and he's going to definitely help us, but this is our guy going forward. Do you sign him for 10 years?
I think you got to lock him up, right, Hebsy? You got to lock up Vladdy.
You do. You have to. If everybody else is locking their key guys up, you got a chance to lock up. What's Vladdy? 23? 22? 24? He doesn't become a free agent until 2026. He's arbitration eligible next year. And trust me if I tell you this, you don't want to go to arbitration with this guy. You don't want to do that, right? So you're either going to sign him to a long-term deal next year, after this season, the 2023 season, 2 years from free agency. And it could cost you really, really big if he has a big year this year. So I think I would lock him up now. And I would say to my fan base, we renovated the Rogers Center. It's passable now. Maybe it's more fun to go there now. We have signed our greatest asset, who sells more jerseys than anybody. We have gotten rid of some of the elements of the team that might have cost us from a professionalism standpoint, cohesion standpoint. I don't know. We've acquired some players that are professionals and go about their business and are proven successes in Major League Baseball. Let's go. Let's get him right now. Let's sign this dude. What do you think?
Is that a shot at the sunflower seeds?
I think it's more a shot of, you had two guys that were coming up on free agency. You were not going to re-sign them. You were not going to go, all right. I don't think they were going to go, let's go to Oscar 5-year deal or whatever. Teams do that, right? They do it a lot. So I think that those were the guys. They just happened to be in the contract thing. Is it a coincidence that they happened to be part of the barrio or whatever they called that down there? Yes and no. Yes and no. But
we got to lock up Vladdy, though. Go ahead.
You got to. Did you see either one of those two guys being part of the future of the Blue Jays? and I didn't. I see them as now players this year, maybe. Like Teoscar could have definitely if they would have kept him. And then they lose in the free agency, they get nothing for him. So would you rather get nothing for the guy, or would you rather get the pitcher that they get, relief pitcher? I can't even remember who they got for him. So we'll see. I wish him well, but I don't think he was part of the future. The future is the future. Let's face it. It's quite simple. It's Vladdy. It's Manoah. It's Bo. It's Kirk. It's Romano. Okay. And the free agents we got, older guys. Gosman can pitch till he's freaking 40 years old. Barrios has got a few years in him. This kid that we got, Chris Bassett's got a few, he's 35. So it's win now for sure. But, you can win now and still win 5 years from now if the Vladdys and the Bows and the youngsters that they've got, the Manoas, become the dominant players we hope they do.
I don't know if this market will ever see a more clearer you got to win now than we had in 2019 with the Toronto Raptors. Because we're talking about this Raptor team now, and I'm kind of underwhelmed by the depth of this team. And I'm thinking about what we had in 2019 and the difference. We're only, now I guess we're almost 4 years removed. But yeah, that was a win now, and we took it full advantage. We
went for a championship, and we got it. That's all there is to it. And everybody said, let's go. Let's get the championship. Well, what if we can re-sign Kawhi? Let's just get the freaking... And then, of course, once we had the championship, we got greedy. Now we got to get Kawhi. We've got to. We have to.
Run it back.
Had we signed Kawhi, would we have won another championship?
That changes the time-space continuum, and absolutely it's possible we repeat if we sign Kawhi. Yeah.
So we could be sitting here now saying, oh, they were two-time, they were back-to-back champions, like the BlueJays were back in the early 90s, and then had to just, the team we couldn't afford it, or they had to go their way, or this guy got old, or we couldn't afford that guy and that guy. We can't afford Jimmy Key, so let's trade him. We can only keep David Cohn for this much, and we got to let him go. All that stuff, right? Dave Winfield was a one-year thing. Okay, thanks. You're gone. We got Paul Molitor. You come on over. You can do that if you just want to win 1 year, or if you're going for it. And what the fuck? Why not? You got that far. We say, no, we don't want to win 1. We want to win 7. Of course you do. Let's take 1 at a time, and we'll see what happens. By the way, according to the excellent Not Mr. Tibbs on Twitter, only 2 players have a chance of making the Hall of Fame this year, Baseball Hall of Fame. The latest numbers: Scott Rowland, 81.1%, Todd Helton, 77.9%, Billy Wagner, 70.5%, Andrew Jones, 69%, Gary Sheffield, 67%, Carlos Beltran, 54%, Jeff Kent, 49%, A-Rod, 46%, Manny Ramirez, 44%, Bobby Abreu, 20%, Andy Pettit, 19%, Mark Burley, 12%. Yeah. Okay, Burley should be in the Hall of Fame. Fuck off. Because you fell in love with him. Because he had all those years where he pitched 200 innings. Wow. 200 innings. He should be in the Hall of Fame. No. Jimmy Rollins, 11%. Omar Vizquel, 9%. I won't even go into the other guys. 75% is needed for induction. So right now, Rowland and Helton are past that. However, history tells us that there's usually shrinkage, considerable shrinkage in these numbers the more ballots are revealed, because a lot of people don't want their ballots revealed, and usually those ballots seem to not include these guys as much. I don't know. It's interesting though. So a lot of people are saying it doesn't look like anyone will get in the Hall of Fame this year. Now, I highly recommend for you to go to actor DB Sweeney's Twitter account, DB Sweeney. Sweeny. He played Shoeless Joe Jackson in the movie 8 Men Out, among other roles. He was in the movie Cutting Edge, about the hockey player turned figure skater, Canadian done. So anyway, DB Sweeney, he revises his role of Shoeless Joe Jackson from the movie, tobacco chewing, in a cornfield, and he reveals his Hall of Fame, what he thinks of this sports writers Hall of Fame selections. And he holds nothing back, and he does it in character, and it's fucking brilliant.
All right.
It's brilliant.
Love
it's
it.
Shoeless Joe Jackson, okay? From Greenville, South Carolina, and he's telling us about the 8 players that this guy has nominated for the Hall of Fame and whether he thinks they should be in the Hall of Fame or not. It's so well done. Before we go, tennis. No more Canadian content this weekend. Denis Shapovalov lost in the quarterfinals at the Adelaide International to Novak Djokovic, the number 1 seed, who is allowed into the country this year after being refused last year for being unvaccinated. The Joker might have some problems. I think, Mike, you can't get into the U.S. unless you're vaccinated. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
I don't believe you're allowed into the country. I mean, those residents do, but am I wrong there? Can someone straighten me out there? Because they were saying something about he may not be able to attend in the United States. He may not be able to come to the US because he's unvaccinated. It does make sense. I mean, isn't everybody vaccinated by now to at least to get it? No, to travel and get into countries.
I'm not sure this is true, but
what about internationally? Can you travel internationally and be unvaccinated? I'm really unaware of this.
I'm not asking for papers anymore. I don't think.
I guess
but
not.
I haven't traveled in a bit.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm sorry to be so ignorant of it. I'm vaccinated fully, so I don't even think about these things. But
sure, but no one's asking to see your passport. Your
no, true that.
Passport.
It's true that. It's the honor system. You're right. On the distaff side, Layla, Annie Fernandez, number 40 in the world, lost in the quarterfinals of the ASB Classic in Auckland, California. No, Auckland, New Zealand. Auckland. Across the bay from San Francisco. No, Auckland, New Zealand. She lost to world number 95, Yseline Bonaventure of Belgium, a qualifier who has won 5 straight matches, including a thrashing of Canada's Rebecca Marino in the second round. So Layla, Annie Fernandez is out. And Mike's favorite, Bianca Andreescu, fizzled out in the second round at Adelaide. She went up 4-0 before losing the next 12 games in a row against Veronika Kudrmatova of Russia, 6-4, 6-0.
Speaking of 2019 champions.
So you're up 4-0, right? It's the best 2 out of 3. You're up 4-0 in the first set, and then you lose the next 12 games in a row? What the hell? So not a good day for Bibi. She's ranked 46th in the world. Mind you, Kudrmatova is pretty good. She's ranked 9th in the world. So, it's no shame to lose to a 9th ranked player if you're 46th, but it is kind of if you won and you lose 12 games in a row, that's not being competitive. In golf, John Rahm's part of a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard at the Century Tournament of Champions in Hawaii. JJ Spawn and Colin Morikawa also at -9. Canada's Mackenzie Hughes is tied for 5th at 7 under par. Shouldn't he be from Scotland? Shouldn't Mackenzie Hughes be from Scotland?
For sure.
Achlo. And I'm not even Scottish, but I mean, come on, it's great. I love that name. And he's from Dundas, Ontario. He's at 7 under par. Corey Connors at -5. Adam Svensson at 2 under par. There's only 39 players in the field, Mike. You know why?
Why?
It's the Tournament of Champions. You had to have won a tournament last year to get into this tournament this year. It's the Tournament of Champions. It's in all the champions from 2022 playing so only 30 anyway. I think there was someone else who was entered and didn't because 39 is an odd number in it. But anyway, whoever won championships last year was invited to play. But you had to make your own airfare to Hawaii. And that might have been the reason why only 39 players. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is Mackenzie Hughes. Okay. Who's a character on The Simpsons, right? That was the janitor, Mackenzie Hughes. Willie. Oh, come on. It's the best name going, Mackenzie Hughes. All right, that's it. We're done. We're out of here. It's too late. It's episode 315 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks to Toronto Mike for production and inspiration. As always, hit him up at Toronto Mike. And thanks to Mackenzie Hughes.
Hey, do you want to promote what's happening next Friday after Hebsy on Sports?
Do you want me to promote your show, you mean?
Well, your participation.
But when's that going to air? When are you going to drop that other?
Right away. So we'll do Hebsy on Sports next Friday, 9 a.m. And then when we're going to record at 11 a.m.
No. I don't want you to drop 2 shows that I'm a part of at the same time. That's no good. And no one's going to listen to Hebsy on Sports.
Not true.
They're going to listen to the other one. As soon as you drop the other one, they're going to say, fuck this. Let's hear that one.
That's not how it works, Hebsy.
Well, I tell you what, you promote it because I'm not comfortable. And what if I do a better job on one than the other? I would promote the show that I thought I did a better job on.
You're consistently great.
All right, all right. We're going to have Rich Griffin, the former PR director of the Toronto Blue Jays, who was unceremoniously dumped by the team after doing fucking fabulous work. Me and him and Toronto Mike are going to do a deep dive.
Yeah, okay? It's going to be good.
Really good.
Next Friday.
But we also have Hebsy on Sports next Friday.
Of course, 9 o'clock as always.
And 9 o'clock. And episode 316 will be a dandy. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. Back with episode 316 next week. Oh, it'll be a dandy. Until then, have a great weekend. So long for now.
Goodbye to everybody on the live stream. Wayne Brown says, great show. A lot of good
Thank you.
Thanks,
everybody. A pleasure. Have a good weekend. Safe, healthy weekend. Talk to you next week.
See you next Friday, 9 a.m.